All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are tackling one of the first and honestly, one of the most critical decisions any founder has to make: how to legally structure your business. No, I know, it sounds a little dry, but trust me, getting this choice wrong can cause some massive headaches down the road.
It's this one, right here. Because the structure you choose, it's going to have a huge say in what you pay in taxes, how much personal risk you're taking on, and even your ability to get funding later. It's literally the foundation for everything you build on top of it. So, let's start where most people do, with the simplest, easiest ways to get up and running. They're super fast, they're cheap, but as you're about to see, they come with a few pretty significant hidden dangers. So, first up is the sole proprietorship. This is basically the default setting. If you just start doing business on your own and you don't file any special paperwork, boom, you're a sole proprietor. The key phrase to zero in on here is no legal distinction. That is a really, really important point we're going to come back to. Okay, now just look at this number, 6%. What on earth could that possibly mean? That 6%, that is the tiny slice of total U.S. sales that all sole proprietorships account for, combined. And that's even though they are by far the most common type of business out there. This tells a really powerful story. They're super easy to start, but they often struggle to grow into something bigger. And one of the biggest reasons they struggle to grow is the risk. The trade-offs here are incredibly clear. On the plus side, hey, it's cheap, it's easy, and you're the boss. But that negative side, it's a potential deal breaker: unlimited personal liability. Let me translate that for you. If your business gets sued or racks up debt, your personal assets, we're talking your car, your house, your savings account, are all on the line. So, what if you've got a co-founder? Well, then you're probably looking at a partnership. You can think of it as the multiplayer version of a sole proprietorship. Two or more people sharing the ownership, the profits, and, as we'll see, all the risks. The good parts are obvious, right? You're pooling your resources, your skills. But that unlimited liability problem, it's still there. And now it's shared. What's even scarier is that you are legally on the hook for your partner's actions. So if they make a huge, costly mistake, guess what? It's your mistake too. So, this huge, looming risk of personal liability naturally leads us to the most popular modern solution for small businesses. It's a structure that was literally designed to act as a shield. I mean, this was the question people started asking. There had to be a better way. What if you could get that legal shield for your personal stuff, but without all the intense paperwork and complexity of a full-blown corporation? And voila! Enter the LLC, the Limited Liability Company. It's a hybrid. It creates a legal wall separating you from the business, that's the corporation part, but it's taxed and runs with the flexibility of a partnership. For a ton of small businesses, it's really the best of both worlds. So here's the core trade-off with an LLC. The number one absolute game-changing benefit is right there in the name: limited liability. Your personal stuff is protected. But the downside, and this catches a lot of new founders by surprise, is that members have to pay self-employment taxes on all of the net income. And setting one up isn't nearly as intimidating as you might think. You pick a unique name, you file a pretty simple document with your state, you draft up an operating agreement that lays out the rules, and you get your permits. It's a very clear, very manageable process. Okay, but what if your vision is bigger than a small business? What if you want to build a huge company? You want to raise money from venture capitalists, maybe even go public one day? Well, for that, you have to structure for big growth, and that means you need to start thinking like a corporation. A corporation, usually called a C Corp, is the most formal structure we've got. The absolute key concept here is that it's a completely separate legal entity. It's like its own person in the eyes of the law. It can own property, sign contracts, get sued, all on its own. The owners are just shareholders, and they are legally separate from the company. And this quote just nails it. While technically anyone can form a corporation, it's a structure that's really built for scale, for complexity, and for attracting serious outside investors. So here's the big trade-off. The massive, game-changing advantage is the ability to sell stock to raise money. But the notorious disadvantage is something called double taxation. So here's how that works. First, the company pays corporate taxes on its profits. Then, when the company pays you, a shareholder, from those profits, you have to pay personal income tax on that money again. Yep, it gets taxed twice.
Okay, so we've covered the big three, but there are a couple of other specialized structures out there that are designed for some very specific situations. First, we've got the S Corp. Now, this isn't a totally separate business structure itself. It's more of a special tax status that an LLC or a corporation can choose to get. And why would you do that? Well, the main reason is to avoid that nasty double taxation we just talked about. It lets profits pass through directly to the owner's personal tax returns, a lot like an LLC. And then you've got the cooperative. This is a really fascinating democratic kind of model where the business is actually owned and controlled by its members, the same people who use its services. Think about your local credit union or a neighborhood grocery co-op. The profits, they get distributed right back to the members. Woof. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So the big question is, how do you take all this and figure out the right choice for your specific venture? This table really brings it all together. Let's think of it as a founder's blueprint. So if you're just dipping your toe in the water, testing an idea, and you need maximum simplicity, the sole proprietorship is your starting point. If you need that liability shield and some flexibility, which most small businesses do, the LLC is almost always the sweet spot. But, and this is so important, if your goal is to raise money from venture capitalists, they will almost always require you to be a C Corp. And that really leads us to the most important takeaway of all this. There is no such thing as a single best structure. The right choice for you is all about finding the right balance between how much simplicity you need right now, how much protection you want for the future, and just how big your dreams are. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about for your own journey. What is your top priority? Is it simplicity, protection, or are you building for massive growth? Answering that one question will point you directly to the structure that's right for you.